Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
How's it going out there? Welcome to YEG MS episode 24 on the MS&Me Radio Network and also available as a podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and SoundCloud. You can also find it on YouTube as well. As always, I'm Sean. I'm your host. I think it's going to be kind of a cool episode. I did an interview with a really, really good friend of mine whom I've known for almost 20 years. And at one point we actually, as an investment, bought a condo together, which you'll hear a little bit about. But the interesting thing about speaking to Dustin on this podcast for me, or on this radio show, depending on how you're consuming it, is he was there. I had people who you've listened to the podcast or read my blog or know me, I commonly refer to my major MS attack in 2007, but the truth be told, that wasn't my first attack. I just wasn't diagnosed. So my first attack actually happened in 2004, at which point in time I was roommates with Dustin. And so we tell that story, and then he was around in 2007 when I had my major attack. He watched through part of my recovery, and then he actually joined in the really long run to MMS last year. So he's really, outside of my family, he'd be the person that's really seen the full progression of my journey with MS. So it was great to talk to him, and it's really been great for him and I becoming friends again. We went for a long period there where we weren't so friendly. And we're reconnecting, and it's really cool because now we're reconnecting with our own kids. So, I'm happy to have him on the show. But before I get to my chat with Dustin, I wanted to talk about something really cool that I've learned over the last little while. I've been doing a lot of reading, and a lot of the reading I've been doing is to help me professionally, but also to help me personally, and just trying to find out, different techniques to just to be all around better, I guess, just to be a better person, husband, father, employee, manager, even runner, I suppose. I mean, it would affect every part of my life. So anyway, I've been reading this book, and it is called Smarter, Faster, Better, and it's by Charles Duhigg. Duhigg, Duhigg. And so the tagline on the cover is "The Secrets of Being Productive in Life and Business." So anyway, I started reading the book, and about a week ago or so. And I'm not going to go over the whole book with you. It was something that I read that really stuck out for me. And early in the book, and I believe it's the first chapter, he talks about a concept referred to as locus of control. And you can either have an internal locus of control or an external locus of control. Now, the author mentions, there's some research that shows that people with... Well, hold on, I should stop myself and explain what locus of control means, and then I'll go into that example. So basically what locus of control means is how you perceive events that happen to you. Do you internally believe that the choices that you make and the work and effort you put into your life affects those outcomes and affects those events, or do you believe externally, and you have an external locus of control where you believe events that happen to you are beyond your control, and I suppose aren't your fault, they're not beyond your control, and it's the world or the universe or other people doing things to you. Now, what the research shows, according to this book, is that people who have the life skill of having an internalized locus of control, meaning that you believe that you can affect the course of your life, you can, the choices you make, the effort you put in, the energy you put in, can positively affect the outcomes in your life. And people who have an internal locus of control, according to the research, live longer, are happier, less depressed, healthier, more successful, etc., etc. You can see where this is going. And then people with an external locus of control, believing that basically the universe does to them rather than the other way around, are more depressed, unhappier, less successful, etc. And the reason why it struck me is I think that all of us in the MS community, and especially those of us that are unfortunate enough to be diagnosed, as somebody who becomes diagnosed with a chronic condition, how does that affect your locus of control? How does that affect the way you look at the world? I can remember, very early on, being very angry and wondering why this happened to me. And why is the universe doing this to me? And why isn't it somebody else? And externalizing all that. Now, eventually, that shifted and changed, and I developed a positive outlook. But initially, I'm human, and it was and it's funny because I'm a sales manager in my professional life, and I run a team of sales guys, and I threw the example out to them because one of the things that when you're training a junior salesperson who really has to go and find business in order to earn a living, typically with young salespeople and growing salespeople, new ones, is they when they win a deal, it was all them, and when they lose a deal, it's definitely external. It was the price, it was the product, it was the customer was stupid, they don't connect that their choices, their effort, and what they brought to it has a profound effect on your success as a salesperson over time. And you can't really be a salesperson for long or be successful at it if your locus of control, to use that term, is externalized. You have to believe that you can hit the goals and hit the targets and make the income that you want to make and provide the life for your family you want to provide. You have to believe that comes from within. So how the hell does this apply to MS? Well, I think it's the same. I think if you want, and this is my belief, but I believe that if you're going to have success with the disease, as contrary as that might sound, but if you're going to have success with the disease, you need to believe that you can have an effect. You need to believe that you can make choices that, well, of course you can't cure yourself, but certainly you can make it better for yourself. And part of that is taking control. You know, obviously you want to listen to your doctors, you want to, but there are definitely things that you can do that'll help in your recovery and help in your management of the disease. And, obviously for me, if you know my story, exercise became a huge part of my recovery, to the point where I ended up running several ultra marathons now. But initially how that started was me trying to take some ownership back of my life while I was recovering from the big attack. Just trying to get back to some sense of being normal, just some feeling of normal. And I didn't start running, I started walking. And, walks became runs and so forth and so on. So, I think it's important to believe that you can have an effect on your condition, what's happening to you, and your life as a whole. And it's no different from running. I mean, you make that choice. And it's funny that when I think about locus of control, I've realized that in different facets of my life, I have both an internal and external locus of control. And generally when I externalize things, it means generally speaking, I'm probably being lazy, or I'm not wanting to take ownership of something. And when I internalize something and I make a choice to do something, example of training to do a long run, I make the right choices. So for me, my focus moving forward is going to try to be internalize more and more and more, and externalize less and less and less. And I think that's important for anybody with MS or who's experiencing any sort of duress in their lives, is to take control back as much as you can, empower yourself. And I guess here we go. That's enough of the rant, but that's what locus of control is, and I hope that exposing you to that idea helps. Maybe you're already way better than I am. I don't know, but I found it useful, so I thought I would share it here. Anyways, now, the star of the show, my dear friend Dustin, and my interview with him, and taking a look at. He was there, the first time I had an attack, so he was there for the second one too. So he's got an interesting perspective, and I hope you enjoy it. Currently sitting on Pigeon Lake. I've been spending the weekend here at the cabin we rented for the summer. And a good friend of mine, where we had a bit of a lapse in friendship there, but we won't get into that. Dustin is sitting with me, and Dustin was actually my roommate when I had my very, very first attack way back in 2004, and that attack was undiagnosed. They just told me I had vertigo at the time. It wasn't until 2007 that I got the official diagnosis. Anyways, the reason why I wanted to get Dustin on the show is just to sort of talk through that morning. We've talked about it before we started recording, and I don't remember it as clearly as I thought. So why don't we start this way, Rusty? This is what I remember. I remember I woke up in the morning, I went to get out of bed, and I had no balance. I fell into the wall, and I think I crawled over to your room, pulled myself up into your doorway, and said something's wrong. But this is where it breaks down for me, because I thought you took me to the hospital, but...
I think what happened was, you came to my door, and you were leaning on it, and you looked like a sack of hammers. It was funny, your eyes were half shut, and you were pale, and just something was off. So I was like, what's up? And you weren't sure what was going on. You just, I don't know, I'm feeling really dizzy and I fell into the wall. I think I need to go to the hospital or whatever. And I kind of said, sure, but like, let me just get ready. And not sure, you kind of, it was like we were talking about earlier, wanted me to mention it. You just kind of looked like a guy that was trapped in his body. You're moving slow. You might as well have been 90 years old and just trying to navigate your way down a dark hallway. Yeah, it was very strange. I knew something definitely was up. We didn't know what it was, but your body just definitely wasn't doing what it was supposed to. But in any case, you wandered off. I think you were probably in a state of medium shock as to worry as to what's going on. So I think you contacted your parents and let them know, and they says, okay, well, sit still and we'll be there in like a minute and a half. And I'm pretty sure they're quick enough for me not to be able to get ready fast enough. And I think I remember sitting at home worrying like, geez, I hope that guy's all right, because I'm pretty sure your dad and mom came and scooped you up really quick. But yeah, after that, it's just a battle in terms of getting diagnosed properly and having the doctors tell you what actually is going on.
Well, speaking of getting diagnosed properly, so they diagnosed me. They said you have extreme vertigo. Okay, yeah. I mean, I didn't really need to go to the hospital for you to tell me that. I mean, I know I couldn't stand up straight. So I remember, we were. You know, this is always the thing, and the irony of what I'm about to say is that this is going to be broadcast on the internet, but this is the problem with going to the internet to try and self-diagnose and self-treat, because I remember my family and we started looking up vertigo, and we came across this like recipe that was supposed to help out, and it was ghee, which is Ghee, which is like an Indian butter. And you took some of that, and if I remember correctly, there was some sunflower seeds involved, or there was some type of seed involved, and you mix all this stuff together in a pan, and it tasted awful.
You tried that, did you?
And it didn't work at all. It didn't do anything.
Oh boy.
Now, you know, we're talking about this, and you know, you were kind of there through the whole evolution of this, because that was 2004, and then in 2005 or 2006, you and I partnered up and bought a condo. Was it 2005 or 2006? Do you remember?
No, it was definitely in that ballpark, yeah. Those years just seem to blend together.
So the next big attack happened I was at work, and at the restaurant that I was a partner in at the time, and that's when my whole right side went numb. And then I didn't work I can't remember. I used to sit, remember you would come home and all I would do is sit on that old lazy boy that I had.
Yeah.
Now the question I have for you, so you're watching your friend, you know, 2004 happened, that kind of came, went, we didn't think anything of it. 2006-ish happens. I have the big attack, and then I'm out. I mean, I didn't work for months and months and months. I'm just wondering as somebody that, you know, you're a friend of yours who you live with, you know, you come and go for work, we pass each other in the halls, but how was that, what was it like for you? I'm just wondering what your perspective was.
Well, when you started going through that stuff, obviously you're going to need to go through it with your family first, seeking solutions and stuff, and you had your modified diets, and I don't know, you and I were pretty accommodating with each other back in the day, so you were knocked out on the couch. I could tell by a look whether you wanted to have company or not. But for the most part, I think it was more your ability to just treat it as if it's a door that's not opening that you have to walk through. You have to get through it. It's not opening, but we'll sort it out. And you never really played into it. You didn't panic. You didn't flip out. Well, like, what are you going to do? Something's up with me. I got to get it figured out. Somebody's going to be able to tell me. There's always a solution, right? So you didn't really let yourself get too spun out about it. Your family isn't the type to get spun out about those kinds of things. So the environment was, there's an issue and we're looking into a solution. And then once you guys started to figure out what's going on and MS became the dominant issue, it was just, okay, now what do we do about that? You guys attacked it from almost like a business-like perspective. As something arises, you knock it down and you move forward. And your quote, I don't know if you've mentioned it before, your typical, it's just, what do you say, it's the monkey in the room or the?
Yeah, no, the gorilla.
The gorilla, yeah, it's the gorilla in the room.
And
It's
if you don't bother me, I don't want to bother you.
he's yeah, exactly right. So it's not something you just say, "Hey, man, how's the body?" And I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. Okay, well, awesome. And what you've done since then in terms of your running and your biking is just phenomenal. It kind of reminds me of what Jamie McInnes used to do when his body got a cold or got sick or something like that. He would punish it. He would punish his body for getting sick.
Well, two things there. So Jamie McInnes is a guy that Dustin and I used to work with years ago who, the best way to describe him is 100% a character. We don't have time to go into the depths of Jamie McInnes here now, but the other thing you mentioned there is the run. So, okay, so we have 2004, that first tech happens, 2006, the big one, and then you and I had a falling out over the sale of the condo.
We divorced,
Yeah, we had a
separation of sorts.
a friend divorce, yeah. And so then we fast forward, and so my second point on that was, you mentioned the run, and so we talked about our sort of our friend divorce. So we went a good, 6 years, 7 years with very minimal contact at all. And then last year, you ran, did you run 20?
I did 10, yeah. You contacted me and asked me what I could do, and I was just a big-bellied plumber at the time, so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to start training and get some running in here, see how many kilometers I can do. I told you right off the bat I'd do 5, and I did get up to a comfortable 5 I wouldn't say pretty easily, but we did it. My wife and I both started to run at that time, and it was definitely an attainable goal, so that's what we did. But when I got there, I got muscled into 10K, because that's where everybody was at the time. They were all collected there, and so yeah, I got opted into the 10K at the run itself, because when I showed up, nobody was at my 5K checkpoint, and I was going, am I at the right spot? So I drove up the road, found the rest of your family and stuff like that. It was a nice little reunion. Waited for you to come along, and that's the 10K, yeah.
So just to back up, so for listeners who aren't familiar, so in 2015, 2016, both summers, so for the last, I didn't do it this summer, but the 2 previous summers, I did an event that I created an event called the Really Long Run to MS. It was an ultra marathon from one small Alberta city to another. It was 80K in a day. First year it took me 11 hours to run it. The second year it took me just under 9 hours. It's 8 hours and 58 minutes to run it. And along the way, different people from different phases of my life, and some people actually, in fact, that I never met before, joined us along the way. And so yeah, over the 2 years, we raised almost $40,000 for the Multiple Sclerosis Society of Canada. And then so Dustin, if I remember correctly, he joined us for the last 10K of last year, because I think you ran into the finish line, did you not?
I did, yeah. You and your family was there. Yeah, you had, I'd been bugging you for the past year or so to see what was going on and how you doing and old friends and stuff like that. And eventually, you popped out of your shell and said, I'm doing this run, would you mind getting involved? And I thought, well, if we're going to get our friendship back on the road, what better way than to support him with the old disease that is MS. So I was all for it, yeah. When you said, help me out, I jumped on board, yeah, why not?
And to close this up, the most interesting thing about this for me, with you kind of seeing all phases of this, is, when we stopped talking, you had just met your now wife. I was about 4 or 5 months away from meeting my wife. And now we had that, 6-year, 7-year gap, but now we've been spending the weekends together with our kids, all running around, our wives and stuff, and it's been really fantastic. So I appreciate you doing this, and thanks for being on and sharing, a few minutes. We have to get going because
Family's knocking.
everybody's anxious to go boating. So any final thoughts?
No, buddy, I'm just really happy that you're able to deal with this situation so much. I know there's a lot of people out there struggling, and you see them on the internet and stuff like that are just having issues with their disabilities and stuff. Hang in there, do whatever you can to get your body moving, and there's always an answer, so just do your best.
Cool. Rusty, thanks very much. So that was my conversation with my really good friend Dustin, who's watched sort of the breadth of my fight against multiple sclerosis. It's been fantastic spending time with him and his family out at the cabin. I think we've been 3 of the last 4 weekends out there. So really good reconnecting with him and getting his kind of helping me remember how everything happened. And that was also a really brief introduction to the concept of locus of control. I would recommend to, well, anyone really, but to any MS warrior out there, look it up, kind of get familiar with the concept and see if you can make it work for you. If, you know, taking power back in your own life and empowering yourself and believing that your choices and your efforts and the things that you do matter. And then not only do they matter to other people, but they can have a profound effect on the outcome of your life, really. So, yeah, have a look at it, and I'm sure you can find tons of information online. And once again, if for anyone was curious, the book I'm reading, once again, is Smarter, Better, Faster: The Secrets of Being Productive in Life and Business by an author by the name of Charles Duhigg. And as always, if you ever want to reach out to me, you can always drop me a line at Sean, S-E-A-N, at ownmultiplesclerosis.com. That's O-W-N, multiplesclerosis.com. You can get me there anytime. You can also follow me on Twitter, at ownms.com1. You can also read my blog and check out stuff there, and I got research posted on the website as well. ownmultiplesclerosis.com. That's ownmultiplesclerosis.com. Now, in between, the next episode of this airs, I will have done the MS bike in Hinton, Alberta. It's a mountain bike ride, very similar to the MS bike tours, but it's in the mountains. And I'm meeting a bunch of my old high school buddies from the early 90s. They're coming up from Kamloops, BC to meet me there and riding the ride with me. And if any of you are listening or there, definitely say hi. And maybe we can even do an interview. And if you want to be on the show, we can talk about anything you want. Tweet at me, email me. You can even find Own Multiple Sclerosis on Facebook. But anyway, that's all my time. These radio shows, they're tight on time, but happy to be part of the MS&Me Radio Network. And you can find the YEG MS podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. See you next time.